there, Star Wars collectors. Welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video and welcome to episode 8 of Ask's Boss Bounty. If you're a follower of this channel, I'm sure you know that this series is basically your chance to ask me questions, and I do my very best to answer them each week. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, do make sure to leave that question in the comment section below. And as I mentioned, I will do my best to answer it. We've got some very cool questions to go through today, loads of topics to cover. But first of all, I just want to give you some news that's happened recently in the last few days, which I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys are going to be excited for me and for the channel. So basically, New York Toy Fair in February next year, I have managed to get myself my first ever press pass for that event. So New York Toy Fair isn't open to the public, it's only open to exhibitors and retailers and press. So basically, I've managed to get myself a press pass. I'm really excited. I've booked my flight. I'm going by myself all the way to New York. It's going to be amazing. But what that means for you guys is that basically, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you are going to be able to get first-hand knowledge or photos and reveals from New York Toy Fair, where Hasbro have promised to reveal loads and loads of cool stuff for next year. Can't wait for this. It's going to be amazing. I'm so sort of happy and privileged to manage to get that press pass. It's just something that I never thought would be possible. So I hope that you guys are pleased for me. I want to deliver that news to you guys. So be sure to follow me on Instagram specifically, because that is where I'll be placing and posting all of the images of all the new stuff that they'll have on display at New York Toy Fair. So make sure you do that. It's at Bossk's Bounty on Instagram. Make sure you follow that channel and yeah, you'll get all of the updates. And with all that being said, let's get on to this week's episode of Ask's Bossk's Bounty. As I mentioned before, it's episode 8. If you like this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. That really does help the channel and the video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for future Star Wars videos. So, on to the first question. Packed Lunk Shrek, that's a great name by the way. Would you like to see a full Beskar armoured Mandalorian with Baby Yoda, Black Series or Vintage Collection or a Clone Commando? I think it would be very nice. 1,000,000%. I would love to see a full Beskar armoured Mandalorian in the Black Series or the Vintage Collection. Both if possible. I think that figure would look absolutely amazing next to the standard Mandalorian that we've already got, and of course this heavy armoured infantry Mandalorian that we've got. Let's get as many figures for the Mandalorian as possible, in my opinion, because for me it is the best thing that has come out of Disney Star Wars so far. Tim Matos asks, what are the chances of getting a new Vintage Collection Y-Wing that is about 25% bigger than the new one we have? With all the trilogy movies, it just makes sense. So yeah, 100%, it does make sense. I could see them making perhaps the one that Zori Bliss is going to be flying in the Rise of Skywalker. Spoiler alert, she does fly a Y-Wing. We can see from a Lego set that's already come out that she does actually pilot that Y-Wing, so it's not really a spoiler, is it? But in terms of 25% bigger, I'm not too sure about that. I think they'd pretty much use the same sculpt and everything that they've done for the previous ones to save money, repaint it white and red. But at the same time, I think if it was 25% bigger, then it would be out of scale with all the other vehicles that they've sort of brought out. So yeah, 25% bigger, I don't think so. But in terms of a new Y-Wing, absolutely, I could see them doing that, no problem at all. David McFadden says, great episode. Are you aware of any problems with Darkside Toys? I've been waiting on some stuff since March and they don't answer my emails. No response, no updates, no refunds. Okay, so if you are in the UK, you have most certainly heard of Darkside Toys. They were one of the sort of 3 main suppliers of Star Wars Black Series and Vintage Collection, amongst other things. So I've had my issues with Darkside Toys in the past. It was all around the sort of wave 2 of the Vintage Collection, or at least the new Vintage Collection, if you know what I mean. So it's the wave with Enfys Nest and Han Solo and the Death Trooper, I believe. And basically I pre-ordered those on his website and they failed to arrive. And after constant sort of asking him where they were, sending him messages, he sent me all these promises saying that they're going to be sent, this, that and the other, and even confirmed that they had been sent on one day and they never turned up. So I actually confronted him at Echo Base Live and he just sort of nonchalantly slit open a box and gave him my figures. No sorry, no nothing. So even after that, I thought something was a little bit fishy. I didn't like the way he conducted himself. And basically since then, more and more people have been having massive issues with him, and it has got to the stage now where I think essentially the company has folded. So if you are expecting a refund, I don't think you're going to be able to get it. I think you're going to need to sort of create a small claims thingy through the small claims courts or something like that. Try and get your money back through PayPal. Whatever it is, try and get your money back. Because if you look at his website now, just throw an image up now, his website has now gone. So that says to me that the company's gone and he's off with everyone's money. So it isn't great, is it? Bad on the collecting scene, and yeah, sorry state of affairs. Shakes the Clone says, you showed us a great hack for swapping carded figures and gluing the bubble back down. I did indeed in a video. I'll link to it down below or something. What other DIY alterations do you know? Anything else related to collecting that you have modified or fixed from time to time? So this isn't really my area of expertise. There is a channel called Toy Polloi and also Retro Blasting. They both do fantastic jobs of restoring vintage things, and I'll just show you this. So basically, this is my childhood snow speeder, and very commonly this whole back piece falls off. So let me just get Bossk out because he's just going to fall out. So this piece here is an actual separate piece, and historically it always seemed to break off a lot of people's snow speeders. Now, he did a great video on how to repair that using some Lego aerials and drilling a few holes, and now you cannot even see where the repair is. But as I mentioned, Retro Blasting and Toy Polloi, they are the experts on that sort of thing. I tend to just sort of take advice from them. It's not really my sort of area of expertise, repairing things like that. So yeah, but I did manage to do it on their advice, so that's good. Anthony Hubley says, would you like to see some Rebels characters in the vintage collection? 1,000,000%, of course I would. I actually did really like the Rebels TV show. I thought it was pretty good. Maybe not as good as the Clone Wars, but it still was good in its own right. So we need a lot of those figures. We need Callus, we need Chopper. There's so many characters that we could do in the vintage collection, but as yet we haven't seen any of them. So we've seen a couple of them in the Black Series, but yeah, come on Hasbro. I think we need those in the vintage collection as well. But as I said before many times, they've got so much to do, haven't they? They've got so much to give us. But what would you rather have? Some Rebels figures, or, you know, for example, a full set of Knights of Ren or a bib Fortuna? You know, I know which ones I'd pick. Nancy Lee Rollins says, how did you pick Bossk for your channel ID? It's a bit of a funny one, really. I actually set up a website called Bossk's Bounty way before I sorted out my YouTube channel. This was like an extension of it. It's kind of taken over now, but Bossk has always been my favourite sort of figure stroke character from the original trilogy. And when I was thinking of names of what I could call my website, I knew it was going to be a collector's website. So I was kind of thinking, you know, bounty and that kind of thing. And I thought, yeah, Bossk's Bounty. He's a bounty hunter. They go in search of bounty. It all fit quite nicely. So that's it, really. A bit of a boring story, but that's how it was. Lewis Ruddy says, do you think Hasbro could possibly do a vintage collection multi-pack to complete teams such as the Knights of Ren and Rogue One, etc.? I think it's entirely possible. Obviously, they've done plenty of 3-packs before, you know, droid packs, things like that. And of course, you know, we've already had the 6-inch Knight of Ren, which is a different one to this guy. But absolutely, I think we would love that, wouldn't we? A 3-pack or even a 6-pack of these guys to complete them. Whether it will happen anytime soon is another matter, but 100% I would absolutely love if they did that. Could you imagine all 6 of these dudes? I think there's 6 anyway, but all 6 of these dudes all lined up together, they'd look fantastic. So yeah, come on Hasbro, you know what we want as fans and collectors. Give us things like this, please. Oh, while I'm at it, I just wanted to quickly show you, this isn't anything to do with the video, but I did manage to pick up a new Bossk collectible. This is the Kubrick, bit like Lego I suppose, but these are actually getting quite expensive, and I don't really know whether I want to open this now. I did want one loose, but it's such a nice box that I'm in two minds whether to open it. But yeah, he's going to go nicely in my Bossk collection. Onslaught 64 says, do you think we'll get a vintage collection bib Fortuna? Oh, this guy comes up so much. He's possibly my most wanted vintage collection figure, and I just find it astounding that we haven't got bib Fortuna on a vintage card. It is amazing. Will they do it? I'm hoping this year maybe. There are rumours of another Jabba's pack, you know, playset to go with the one that we've already got. So maybe he'll come in that. And if he does, he needs to come on his own card in the pack, just like they did with the other one. The Bone Daddy Jenkins Esquire, another fantastic name. Love the channel, Bossk. Thank you very much. Do you think they'll re-release the Vintage Collection Legacy Collection Falcon? If so, what's your prediction for time and price? So I have covered this before in a previous Ask Bossk's Bounty. Apologise to be repetitive to anyone that's seen that before, but I am 99.9% sure that they are re-releasing the Vintage Collection Millennium Falcon, which will be the Legacy Collection Falcon. I've also heard an extra little rumour that it will include some figures. Whether that will be the 2 figures that you got in the Legacy Collection of Chewie and Han Solo, or if they're going to go down the lines of the Jabba's Palace where they give us 2 carded figures, is another matter. I do not know that much information. All I do know is that the Legacy Collection or stroke Vintage Collection Millennium Falcon will be coming out in 2020. Not too sure exactly when. And I think if I was going to put a price on it, I would probably suggest it will be probably $350, maybe $400. So be prepared for your bank accounts to take a little bit of a hit. Dustin Darbone says, first off, I love your channel and appreciate what you do. Thank you very much, mate. Without you guys, it would be nothing, though, so I thank you. What's with the Black Series 6-inch figures? Why not just collect the Vintage Collection? I don't have room to start my collection over with these big-ass action figures. Thanks. So, look, if it was up to me, then I would have just kept it 3.75 and just put all my efforts into that. But people do like the Black Series figures. They're highly detailed. It annoys me a little bit because obviously vehicles for these guys is just not going to happen. You need them to be more in this scale for it to be realistic. You saw that with the Black Series TIE Fighter. It's an absolutely ridiculous thing, really. And, you know, we'd never be able to get things like the barge if everything was in 6-inch because it'd just be all too big. So I am mainly a 3.75-inch collector, but there are some Black Series figures that I just think are too good. This guy to turn down. And yeah, I wish I didn't have to spend all that money, but you know, when Hasbro bring things out like this, you just have to snap them up. Martin Anderson says, great questions. What about a re-release of CAD Bane? 100%. Why not? I'd love a CAD Bane, especially on a vintage card. You never know, with the Clone Wars coming back out and things like that, they might revisit those sorts of figures. We can only hope. Lily says, what are your thoughts on the sequel trilogy and will you be seeing The Rise of Skywalker in theatres? So yes, I will be seeing it on opening night, not the midnight showing, but the actual proper release night, the Thursday I think it is. I will be seeing it. Am I excited for it as I have been for other Star Wars films? No, I've got to be honest. The Last Jedi wasn't my cup of tea. I know it is for some other people. We're about 50-50, aren't we? So what do I think of the sequel trilogy? On the whole, I did enjoy The Force Awakens, enjoyable movie. My kids love it. The Last Jedi kind of killed it for me. I'm more into The Mandalorian. I'm just a bit old school like that. You know, I like the things that reflect and look familiar to the things that I watched when I was a kid. The Last Jedi just didn't do that for me, and I hope they turn it around with The Rise of Skywalker. We'll have to wait and see. Yeti Monster 1473 says, do you think they'll put some Legends characters in figure form? I'd love the re-release of the Starkiller or a Revan in the Vintage Collection. So I think it's on their minds because obviously they were originally going to be releasing the Darth Revan as number VC150 in the Vintage Collection. But then they changed their minds because of the fan reactions or feedback that they got about that figure, that they essentially what they were trying to do is repack the 30th anniversary figure, and everyone just said, look, that figure's just not good enough anymore. You need to redo it. So releasing those sorts of figures is definitely on their minds. They definitely know that the collectors want them. So I think, you know, the future's bright. We can only hope that they do release those sorts of figures and improve on what they've done before. Josh B says, these videos are awesome. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. Would you like to see Hasbro make a playset of the Mandalorian Forge that would include the blacksmith character and maybe some other accessories seen in the show? 100%. God, yeah, that's an amazing idea. I mean, imagine this guy in 3.75 inch with the female Mandalorian. That's the sort of forger. Obviously, we've got the Mandalorian and then a couple of the other ones there that were sort of sprinkled around. That would be fantastic with that little forge playset. Great idea. Love it. Ryan Sargent says, since it seems that a question a week covers what Haslab will do next, I might as well put one forward. So basically he's suggesting the Mos Eisley Cantina and what I think of that. So I would absolutely love the Cantina, the Mos Eisley Cantina as a Haslab project. I'm not sure if they'll do it. And the reason for that is because I think it would cause problems with the amount of figures that people then would expect Hasbro to release for the Cantina. So obviously we'd want all of those figures, wouldn't we? We've got some of them already, but there's lots and lots of background characters in that Cantina. The bartender, Woohoo, I think his name is. For example, he's another character that we need in the Vintage Collection, or an updated figure of him. And I think if they were to do a Haslab project around the Cantina, they'd either have to release a bunch of figures with it, or if it is just some big play set and then you're expected to fill it with your own figures, that would cause them serious problems with having to make loads and loads of figures for that particular thing. And I just don't think they're going to have the slot in their schedule to be able to do that. But it's a great idea and I would love it, of course. Bill Pork says, love this channel. Thank you very much, mate. Have you ever read any of the novels from the expanded universe? Which ones were your favourites? I really enjoyed the one about Prince Zizor. So this is probably my favourite from the expanded universe. So this is the Heir to the Empire. This is all about Thrawn and everything that's happens after the Battle of Endor. Pretty good book. Read it years and years and years ago now. So I'd recommend that one for anyone that hasn't read that. I'm sure most of you have. But if I was thinking about new canon, I love the Lost Stars book. So if you haven't read that, that's a fantastic book as well. All right then, guys, that is it for this week's episode of Ask Bossk's Bounty. Thank you very much for your questions. Be sure to leave your questions for next week's episode. Hoping to get lots more questions for next week's episode. Let's keep this series going. Thank you very much for watching. Drop a like down below and we'll see you on the next one.